Well, we are continuing our discussion with the candidates in the upcoming November 7th Quincy City election, and joining us in studio this time around, incumbent Quincy Ward 6 City Councilor Bill Harris, stopping by for a chat. Good to see you, Bill.
Great to see you. Been a long time.
It has been a long time. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, I mean, we had a little thing called a pandemic, and
that's true.
Kind of waylaid a lot of folks.
That's true. Absolutely.
So it's good to see you in person for sure.
Thanks. And I had a shift in jobs. I used to love working in Quincy Center at the post office.
Yeah.
And it'll be 2 years in November. I took a promotion. We kind of talked about it.
Yep.
I took a promotion, and I did my last year and a half, working across the city of Boston, and where I was responsible for in senior management, and it was great to be able to end a career after 35 years. I turned 62, so the bells and whistles rang as far as the post office was concerned, and I said my goodbyes, and
didn't last long.
Didn't last long. No, I started a job. I applied 2 days after. 2 days after I gave my 2 weeks notice, I applied for. But I was off for a while with leave.
Sure.
That I had to burn up, and I applied for a job 2 days after giving my notice, and it took 2 months to get hired. But
Wow.
I work I work for the state. I work at the McCormick Building, the One Ashburton Place, and I get to go over it involves going over the mail, So
Of course.
I guess
your
I
expertise.
guess I was qualified. I was a little worried I was overqualified, only for the simple fact I'm a mail clerk.
Right.
Just riding out, maybe five more years.
Okay.
And
All right.
keep working, and I put in for a job, but we'll see what happens with that. Another job in the state, but
Okay.
I'm just trying to, just be ready for retirement. And
Keep
when it's
active.
Yeah.
So you failed retirement, essentially, Bill, is what you
Absolutely.
You failed
Absolutely.
miserably at retirement.
terribly, I know. But I was off for 2 months, and I gained 30 pounds, and I said, "What is going on?"
Yeah.
And I'm struggling to get that 30 off, and I should have lost 30 before that. But I wasn't active enough, and so now I know what it was like being out of work for 2 months. What I have to do and plan, and
Well, it's
activities, and
a good primer for the
Exact-
real retirement.
exactly.
Yeah.
So-
but you haven't retired from being a city councilor, certainly.
No, I haven't.
No. Yeah.
No. That's what still keeps me on my toes.
Yeah.
And,
When were you first elected now? I'm trying to remember.
well, remember, in 2016, that was when it was my first term, April of, I believe it was April 2016, right? Yeah. I get the dates mixed up. Well, remember, I took over after Brian McNamee.
The late
passed
Brian
away.
McNamee,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a little, that was a little interesting how I got in, but I certainly, obviously, didn't want to get in that way.
Right. Obviously, yeah.
But then I've had three successful re-election campaigns. One of them, the last one, I didn't have an opponent.
Right.
So the older you get, you try to kick things in gears. Like I said, being off for 2 months, not having the campaign for almost 4 years. It's like
Right.
it's going to be a challenge. I'm not as young as I used to be. 4 years does, at that point where I am,
Yeah.
from 58 to 62. I have a few broken things on my legs, but we'll
None the worse for wear, right?
None the worse for
Yeah.
wear. We'll just keep going, and again, I get up every morning, go to work, and I spend most of my evenings dealing with what my constituents call me on,
Right.
or email me. I try to get back as fast as I can. Sometimes I can't. But that's just like every other counselor. You try to get there, get the things that are needed to be done.
Yeah. So what have you learned about Ward 6, over the past 7 years being in elected office that you didn't know before you?
Well, you know what? Brian McNamee, the first time I met Brian McNamee was after it was announced that I had submitted my papers. And I remember I met him at a scholarship evening at the Nickerson Post, and he started the conversation off saying, it has to be a brave man that runs for Ward 6 councilor. That's how the introduction started.
Wow. Okay.
And we shook hands, and again, Brian and myself, we had a very, very professional election. We never spoke, he never spoke badly about me. I never spoke badly about him. It was about the issues, not about personalities or anything like that. It was a clean election, and hopefully I've continued that way. It really isn't about the opponent, because we have enough of that nonsense going on in the world today in politics. At this level, I think it's not necessary, because it's all about just helping the people. And this is, as a ward councilor or mayor, you get to actually help people. And sometimes you're able to get what people want, and then sometimes you can't.
Yeah, well, it's nuts and bolts issues, right? It's potholes, it's no parking zones, it's tree issues, it's things of that nature.
And one of the hardest things is the zoning board.
Sure.
People want to do certain things with their home, and then you have neighbors. It's very difficult. Even on my own street, it's sometimes there's issues with, throughout Ward 6, people looking to have something done and people being against it, and it kind of puts you in one of those spots where sometimes you're in a no-win situation.
Right. Yeah.
But that's what you sign up for.
Yeah.
Right.
And you still want to do it after all these years.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, one term at a time.
Okay.
Again, my plan is to, work as long as I possibly can.
Okay.
And just continue to try to, fight the battles that need to be fought.
Speaking of, undoubtedly,
Yes.
the biggest issue facing Ward 6, and as we talked about before the program, probably the city, is the issue of the Long Island Bridge.
Absolutely. And I have a lot less here than in 2015 when the bridge came down.
Right.
And then in 2018, I had just won re-election, and I couldn't even catch my breath that the day of the inauguration of Marty Walsh, he announces that he's going to rebuild the Long Island Bridge.
Yep.
And so it's been unfortunately, I hate calling it a fight, but it's been a fight. And again, it's eye-opening. For instance, yesterday, and I have to say, the mayor and the city council, I need to thank them. I think my constituents should realize that, this is. I have to thank them, because they've been an intricate part of helping, whether it was approving money for legal fees, expert witnesses.
Environmental scientists
Exactly right.
came into play,
and when
structural engineers.
And unfortunately, as this fight either comes to an end one way or another, we will need that support again, because obviously, I think some folks heard, now today is August 24th.
Yep.
A few days ago, or I should say about a week ago, so a little over a week, I think folks got the impression that the Coast Guard announcement was a done deal. Well, in a sense, it's kind of close to being, but there is still one before that permit. The permit actually has not been issued.
Okay, it's been approved but not issued. Is that where it stands?
Exactly. There's still some more public input, which in September, this is very important, and I'm glad that I'm able to talk about it, because they have my email. I know they have Representative Ayers, who's been fantastic. I know they have the mayor. We're going to make sure the folks that need to get the input and sent to the Coast Guard gets that message. There was only, they said yesterday when I was at Congressman Lynch's office with Bruce Ayers, Representative Ayers, and Mayor Koch and Senator Keenan, of course, Congressman Lynch. There was several members from the Coast Guard, the people who actually do the report to the make the decision. There was a new gentleman from the Coast Guard that was there that just been assigned, and he was anxious to speak with us. Okay. But I need to thank, obviously, the mayor and Representative Ayers, who made sure we're all working, we're all on the same page, trying to find a better solution to not find the solution to Boston, but find a common ground where we can, we know there's a problem in Boston. There's no doubt about it. It's terrible. It's
talking about the Mass and Cass issue, with folks suffering from substance use.
And we spoke earlier a little bit about Mayor Wu. There's 11 buildings that's going to be refurbished, and
Yeah, the city of Boston is moving full speed ahead as if the bridge will be built.
Well, the problem was people thought the Coast Guard made the approval. All they did was they gave the approval of the clearance, the height, basically.
For boats to go under the new bridge, essentially.
Exactly right.
So is that where the city's argument comes into play?
We have a lot of
arguments. A lot of arguments, okay.
The pylons are you have to, they've, the pylons that they have to build on top of, I don't see how it's going to work without the city of Boston violating or doing something other than what the EPA has allowed them to do. And the whole thing is they're supposed to rebuild on the pylons. The disturbance underneath, the environmental part of this, and that's what our argument is all about. It has nothing to do with Mass and Cass. It has to do with environmental issues, safety issues when it comes to traffic. And again, it is Boston let that bridge go. And they had no choice but to, take it down.
It was practically falling down, as a matter of fact.
And in 2002, Mayor Menino has the Cecil report had done, and that report made it pretty clear that the right thing to be done was to use the facilities on Long Island through a ferry service. It says it right in the report. We submitted, Representative Ayers yesterday submitted handed it right to the Coast Guard, which will be part of their final approval process. Anybody who reads the Cecil report, it made it quite clear that was Boston's report. That was Boston's examination of what they were dealing with prior to Mass and Cass. So, and again, those structures have been out there for a very long time.
Some of it's to the late 1800s, I believe.
I believe the main building was. And do you know what? The bridge was built not for the hospital. The bridge was built by the Army Corps of Engineers, and I believe just for the missile silos that we had out on Long Island. It was never intended for the
day-to-day
hospital
use of the hospital.
Right. So since like 1931, when the hospital was for tuberculosis, communicable diseases, they that hospital was being serviced by boat, and that included all of everything that a hospital needs, from staffing to they had it right. They had it right in 1931. You would think that almost 90 years later, that they can't figure out how to get a ferry system out there when they did it. They used to do it in ancient times, not ancient times.
Right,
but,
right. So was traffic an issue before the bridge was demolished through Squantum?
Well, there was
North Quincy?
an awful lot of traffic that would go through, and it was, if you go there, say for instance the corner of Dorchester Street and Moon Island Road, and at the top, of course, there's this literally a hairpin turn where fire trucks come down, and remember, we're the Squantum area and Marina Bay traffic gets tangled and disrupted, especially during those times where those lights back up, and that's just with Moon Island's coming and goings, change shifts. They have the fire academy out there
Right.
that we deal with as far as traffic is concerned, and then we're also dealing with the gun range.
Yes.
I have to tell you, during the shift change, there's nobody who isn't going fast when they want to get home
Okay.
and get wherever they live, and it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all that that the concern and the argument that the ferry system wouldn't work was the fact that they said that it would take too long to get people off the island if they needed, like the ambulances used to race at least once or twice a week while I lived there before the bridge went down.
Okay.
The ride, if you talk to the EMTs, the ride from Long Island facilities, just to get off Long Island, just to get by Moon Island, to get over the bridge, to get to Moon Island,
Yep.
to get through Squantum, to get through the lights, to go over the Neponset Bridge, to get into Boston Medical Center, where most of the time that's where the patients go. I think it's 99% of the time.
Sure.
That alone would take longer than if, for instance, I know that there's been an offer made, for the most part, made to Mayor Wu, that the Shattuck Hospital is a viable solution to expand it. I know that Congressman Lynch is for that as well. I applaud that.
Okay.
It's smart thinking. The cost way back in 2000, before 2015, that ambulance ride was $800 each way. What do you think that cost is going to be?
It's more than that for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you think about, and then what happens is, that in itself is a problem, for Boston. That's going to be more cost that is necessary. Put the money, any money, with the at the Shattuck. I think that is a great solution. I believe Boston Medical Center is also getting involved with the Shattuck in some way or form, like in a sense of where there used to be at Quincy. Boston Medical Center used to run the Quincy Hospital, before it closed. So I think Boston Medical Center has a great track record, especially dealing with the folks that need the help. And there was something that popped in my head. See, there's where the age. There's my weakness.
So, but realistically speaking, Bill, what really are the chances of the city of Quincy preventing the Long Island Bridge from being rebuilt? I mean,
I'll give you an honest answer, and the honest answer is we're obviously right now behind the eight ball.
Yeah.
Where when you think about the transparency that the city of Boston, there's no transparency with the city of Boston. With the Coast Guard, there wasn't any transparency until we met yesterday. And you know what? what their ruling did with the height, they prevented with that ruling. Now they have prevented that future because I know the city of Quincy has been trying to get into have a stop, and we apply every year to expand our ferry dock.
Oh, it's Squantum Point Park?
Yes, and this will prevent this ruling. The ferry system will. It's not as big of a boat as could be, and our goal in this day and age of fossil fuel emissions, getting cars off the road, helping the global effect, as we're being told, is this is the hottest year of the heat of the earth. You know, tides are rising. So as the tides rise too, I mean, could this be something they will talk out of one side of Boston will talk out of one side of their mouth and do another. Why aren't we looking at the whole picture of what's the best thing?
Okay, so, all right, so where do we go from here?
Well,
Yeah.
My point is that we can't expand the ferries any bigger than what they are to go under the bridge, and that actually is even hurt us more than because now there's no room for expansion of the ferry system that's in place right now, and especially getting more people to take the ferry from
Oh, I see.
Hingham,
If the bridge is
from
rebuilt.
Hingham,
Yeah.
if the bridge is
Okay.
rebuilt.
Yeah.
That and that ruling that they made with the height,
Yes.
allowing the height, that right there put the kibosh on any chance of expansion, and that's terrible. You know, because in order to be successful, as far as getting people off the road, ferry system, especially from the South Shore, which traffic is coming back. You know, it's going to be back in a few weeks, and I'm going to be dealing with it again. I
Right.
can't believe it.
Right.
But the ferry system not being able to be expanded is just a travesty. You know, and that's on the Coast Guard allowing it.
Okay, so-
and that's on Boston too. I as well. But again, everybody is worried about their own backyard, I think, and that's what that's.
It sounds like if you're reelected, this will be the number one priority of your administration, if you will, as a Ward 6 councilor.
Exactly
Yeah.
right. And I think that we have other good things that are coming in Ward 6. There'll be a community meeting. I believe it's on September 14th. There'll be a community meeting with just a brief summary of and getting maybe a little input from the community in Squantum about the new Squantum school. So where we're at right now with that is we're just waiting for the decision whether or not we get to rebuild it 100% or they want to refurbish it.
I see.
We're leaning towards the fact that they've seen that school is
Yeah.
so outdated.
It's over 100 years old now, right?
Exactly
Yeah.
right. So, and that's very important to folks in North Quincy, and because it be state of the art for sure, just like the other new schools, beautiful schools that we've gone through the same state process with, and I'll let the experts handle that during the community meeting. But that has been something that since day one, one of the first things we sent forward when I was in office was to be on the list, and look how long it took now. It's over. It's going to go on 8 years,
Yep.
in January. So, but I believe that we're at the closest point that we have been in a while with
Okay.
that. So,
Okay.
and
The
that's-
meeting at Squantum School, is that where the meeting's taking place?
I'm
or-
going to say that's more than likely it
Okay.
will be. I don't know. Again, that's going to be held by the mayor.
Yes.
And obviously with myself.
Okay, all right.
And all the constituents involved, they'll all get letters, and we'll probably be advertising it
Okay.
in any which way on social media.
Okay.
We can, but because there's a community meeting that'll be very positive. You know, the traffic. Again, it's about fixing traffic issues, which is safety issues, and there's nothing more concerning than the safety of the kids, especially coming in and out. Obviously, you know, the original talk is that the school will be built right behind the old school, and that'll leave room for making adjustments.
It's a big issue with the
to drop off
turnarounds and drop off.
and
Yeah.
drop off, and you know,
Yeah.
So that's exciting, and you know, again, that all started when I first started, and it seems like yesterday, but look how fast it goes by. You know?
Another big issue, not only in Ward 6 but across the city, are short-term rentals, and I know it's been an
Oh,
issue.
boy.
Yeah, particularly
So
in the coastal areas.
I'm going to be real careful with that because, because obviously
There are some lawsuits. Right?
there's some
Yeah,
lawsuits.
I know.
And it's a tough one because the key is quality of life, and when something comes out of like Boston, building a bridge, or somebody buys a house and just use it as a rental and short term, where there are folks that have no accountability, no sense of pride in the neighborhood. They're just renting it and doing whatever they can, whether it's shooting fireworks off, and disturbing the folks that make the area that these places are in their home and disrupt their lives. And it's just.
Because there is an existing ordinance, right? A city ordinance.
Oh yeah,
preventing
there was
that.
one that
Yeah.
we put under my terms.
Right.
During my terms, that term.
Yeah, which defines what a short-term rental can
And
and can't
again,
be, right? Yeah.
I thank the city council for all they do. Now there's some cases out there that are drawing some attention.
Yes.
And by no means. And one of them is so bad that I really can't speak to it.
Yeah.
But it's heart-wrenching what has taken place. It takes an awful lot of, if it's taken space up inside my head, worried, bothered by it. I can't even imagine if I was living next door to it. Do you know what I mean?
So
Or
does
beside
the
it.
ordinance need to be tweaked, do you think?
No, we
Okay.
just,
It needs to be enforced.
The problem is, and we are.
Yeah.
The problem is in some cases it turns into a court battle.
Right, okay.
And we just people wonder why does it take so long to fix? Well, the legalities of everything. You know, you need to make sure that you have a good enough case that it's actually going to win. You have all the affidavits from folks that need the neighbors of different Airbnbs throughout the city that are being held accountable. Again, some of the computer system that the city has that actually pinpoints that the homes that are being used as Airbnb, short-term rentals, and the law is 30 days.
Right.
And obviously, that has taken up a lot of energy out of and it's a difficult it's difficult, and I understand folks would like to invest and make money. I get that. I used to we used to have a home up in North Conway, and we used to, I didn't rent it very often because it was more of a headache than it was, I remember the last year I rented it. I rented it for 3 months, so it wasn't a short-term rental. I rented it for the winter season, and it was more work than I really wanted. So we sold it. But my point being on that is that we had some renters, and it was a secluded house, so I was fortunate that I didn't have any issues, me and my wife. But you know, when you could see that there was people who didn't care when you'd go go into the home after and to clean it, how it was left.
Yeah.
That you know they had a rock and roll party there, and that's where and we stopped renting it. We didn't rent it very often. We only let friends and family, you know,
Yeah.
go up there anytime, and they were always very good.
Yeah,
know,
like you
so
say, it's quality of life.
it's all about
So,
quality of
yeah.
life for the people who, and there were people where we had the chalet that lived there, you know, to 365.
Yes,
So
yeah.
I mean, so.
So you'll be outdoor knocking, I'm assuming, Bill?
But I'm going to wait until people get back from
Okay.
vacation,
Yep.
and I'm going to be able to do as much as I can.
Mm-hmm.
Again, physically, I've been battling, you know, knee problems, and I started a new job. So,
Right, yep.
And I know that they want to do some work on my knees,
I see,
and
okay.
I actually not in a position to be able to take the time off.
Right.
So I'm living with a little bit of discomfort, but nothing that a couple of Advil doesn't help, you know. But I will be out and about. People will see me.
Okay.
You know, I know this won't air in time, but like tonight we have a fundraiser, and you know, we're on the campaign trail. You know, in a couple of weeks, once the kids get back to school and the activities start coming again. And, you
Okay.
know,
Well,
again. But
good to talk to you. Thanks for stopping by.
great to talk to you as always, Joe.
Always a pleasure.
Oh, absolutely. It's
And
been a
we'll-
while, and you hopefully I'll have more time to be able to come and, you know.
We'll definitely catch up with you on the campaign trail, Bill.
Sounds great.
All right.
Sounds great.
Thanks again.
Thanks.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Joe.
And thank you for watching us here at AM Quincy. I'm Joe Catalano. We will see you next time.